In this video, we're going to learn how to make this beautiful top that has a cape effect and an asymmetric neckline and also a peplum effect. If that's what you want to learn how to make for yourself, exactly the way it is on the screen, then keep watching this video while we head straight to it. So you'll be needing your basic bodice front in full. As you can see, I have mine here already. I have my bust point line, I have my waistline, and then of course the hem, my basic waist dart, and of course the side bust dart, and my neckline, which is also in the basic. The next thing, you'll be adding a fresh pattern paper by the side of your dress where you want that cape effect to be. And then you're going to be rolling an angled line like so all the way down, more sort of like a sleeve. Okay, so I'm going to use my marker to make it obvious so you guys can see it. At this point, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please click the bell notification icon. Subscribe is totally free of charge, and also you'll be the first person YouTube will notify whenever I post lovely tutorials like this. Thank you. So I used 2 inches for the off shoulder and 3 inches for the length of my cape. All right, now I'm going to be taking that cape effect from that 2 inches off shoulder. I'm going to be ruling or drawing the design for the cape that I'm going for. And that is what I'm doing right now. So I want to separate the lower part of this bodice from the upper part of it so we can work or concentrate more on the upper part of it. So I'm just going to set this side aside, okay? So I'm using my marker to make the cape that I ruled out obvious or make it nice for you guys to see. Initially, this was what I did, but no, that cape is not supposed to be at that point. All right, so I have to bring it down the more. That point is actually for the neckline, and you understand as we go on. So can you see where I redrew the line for my cape at the side? Now for my neckline, I'm going to be taking ½ inch away from my basic neckline that I already have. And then I'm going to be connecting it to this very point of my armhole. Can you see the point? To the chest line, in fact. That line is actually my chest line. I'm going to be connecting it to my chest line. I'm going to use my marker to make it obvious so you guys can see it. And now this is all the lines I have. This is what your pattern should be looking like at this point. So now you know this is an asymmetric neckline. We have to contour so that it does not gap. All right. Now I'm going to be marking 1 inch away from each side of my neckline from the center point. You can mark 2 inches, all right? From that very point, I'm connecting it back to the bust point like so. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, before I do the same thing on the other side, I'm going to be marking in my bust arc on that line, which is the distance between my bust point and under bust. And on top of that bust arc is going to be sitting my ½ inch dart. I'm going to be connecting that ½ inch dart to the bust point like so. Then back to the neckline like so. And this same thing, I'm going to be repeating it on this side. So just in case you didn't grab it on the other side, we'll go ahead to repeat it here. From that 1 inch or 2 inches, connect it to your bust point. Now marking your bust arc, which is 2 inches for me, or you can, your distance between your bust point and your under bust, that is your bust arc. Place it on top of the bust point and mark it, all right? On top of the bust arc is going to be sitting your dart intake of ½ inch. Connect to the neckline, connect back to the bust point from the ½ inch intake. I hope that is well understood. So I'll be using my marker to make it obvious so you guys can see that that is actually the neckline contour dart. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to add in the armhole contour dart for this side of the asymmetric neckline. It is actually 1 inch. So you connect it directly to the bust point. All right. We'll go ahead now to start cutting out. So I decided to first close up the contour dart or cut out my neckline first. So now when I'm done cutting the neckline, I'll go ahead and start opening the dart to close it up. Okay, firstly, I'm going to be tracing out this cape so we can actually take that out of the way. I wanted to use this yellow paper, but it wasn't enough, so I opted for the white one. We're going to be tracing this cape out. If you have your tracing wheel, you can use that. But if you don't have, you can do what I'm doing right now. You will still get the same exact result. Now, you notice that while tracing the cape, I went ahead to trace out the darts that are on the top part, not below. The top part of the cape, right? I traced out the dots on the top part, not the ones underneath, if that makes sense. So I'm here now tracing out what's right. I like writing it out very well, the things that I've traced out. I'm going to have to use my scissors to cut it out so you guys can see what it looks like. So I haven't done that. I'm going to have to detach that pink paper. We don't need the pink paper again. It was actually because of the cape that I attached to the pink paper. So I'll go ahead to detach it now. And here is what our cape looks like. Can you see the dot that I added, right? Can you see the dot that I added? Can you see that? All right. So that's what I was talking about. So we'll set the cape aside so we can work on the upper bodice rubber. Firstly, I'm going to be cutting open my side bust darts. And then so when I close the contour dart, I'll be transferring the excess to the side bust dart so I can tape close the contour dart. So you have to be very careful while doing this so you do not rip any part of your pattern, because every part of this pattern you're seeing is actually very important, and if you rip an important part or any part of it, it can actually ruin the fit of your dress. So you want to be careful while closing and taping them and all that to make sure you're doing the right thing. So at this point, this is what it looks like. Now I'm going to be cutting out the neckline. Please, not that cape part, the neckline. Do you get? I'm going to have to cut out the neckline, and this is what it looks like. The next thing I'm going to do right now is to get that slash and spread effect at the shoulder part of it. Please look closely. There's this slash and spread effect at the shoulder. That is the next thing we are going to do now. So I ruled a curved line from this point of my bust point, right, to the shoulder. Please, I'm going to use my marker to make it visible so you guys can see it. Now, I haven't done that. I'll go ahead with my scissors and cut it. So I'll transfer that dart to this part. Can you see? Transfer that dart here, and I'll go ahead and tape it down like so. I'll put a fresh pattern paper underneath like this. So I haven't done this. Now what I'm going to do is to try to close this up to bring it back to the original state. You have to do this before cutting out the excess part of the paper. If you don't do it, it's possible you might cut the part that you're not supposed to cut. So try to close it to bring it back to its original state and tape it down before you go ahead and start cutting the excess part of the yellow paper. Now, as you can see, the shoulder part of it looks like one side is shorter, of course. So you just have to true it just the exact way I'm doing right now. So this is what it looks like. Okay. I'll go ahead and cut open my waist dart. Of course, we're going to sew it up. So you just have to cut it open so you can sew it up on your fabric. And then you can now cut this open. Remember, we're working with a flat pattern, all right? So you can cut it open and it will lay flat. You're able to transfer it to your fabric and cut. So that part you taped, you're going to be cutting it open now. Carefully so you don't rip any part of it. And this is what your front pattern should look like. Your front upper pattern should look like with the cape. So we'll take this now for that part that went into it. Of course, we'll have to close it. We closed the dart in the main body, so we'll have to close it for here too. All I did was to rule a straight line, and I cut a little point of that straight line, and also cut open the dart, close the dart, and transfer the excess to that very little line that I cut out, or that I ruled. Please just watch carefully, you will understand. As you can see, that part is open now, so you just add the fresh pattern paper to it and threw it out. So here is it for your upper pattern for this dress, upper bodice pattern for this dress, right? This is what it looks like, this whole thing.